W.F. House presents an unabridged recording of Murder by Invitation Only by Colleen, Cambridge. Narrated by Rachel Atkins. Chapter 1. Phyllida Bright was displeased. She levelled a stern look at the two young women who stood in front of her. One of them was dripping wet from something that smelled exceedingly unpleasant. The other was covered with soot and ash. Both of them had the misfortune of being maids on her staff. Neither were brave enough to look her in the eye, and in fact both seemed to be trembling in fear of her wrath. As well they should, for the two of them were about to receive a severe talking to. If Phyllida could keep from laughing, they did look ridiculous. "Explain how this happened," Phyllida said once she gathered her composure. "Ginny, you first." Ginny, the honey-haired parlour-maid with a high-pitched voice, sniffled and pushed back a swathe of hair that dripped in her face. Her normally pristine starched uniform hung wet and awkwardly on her figure, and her cap sagged over what had been a neat roll of hair.
"Only I went out to empty the pail from the library fireplace, and the next thing I know, she went and dumped a bucket of slop on me."
Her voice was teary, but her eyes shot daggers at Molly, the kitchen maid who stood next to her. "And therefore you found it necessary to retaliate by throwing a bucket of fireplace debris on her," Phyllida said in an arctic voice.
"No, marm, it was an accident." "I didn't mean to, Mrs. Bright," said Molly earnestly, though her voice was also tight with tears. "She got in my way as I was pitching it out." "I did not!" cried Ginny. "She pretended not to see me, but I know she did." "It was an accident, Mrs. Bright," Molly said, her voice breaking with emotion. "I swear it." She had obviously attempted to wipe some of the ashes from her face, but she'd only made it worse, as her cheeks and slender nose were smeared with soot. Her lace cap, still settled on a head of light brown hair, had created a sort of nest for a significant portion of the ash as well. One good sneeze or bob of her head, or, heaven forbid, a curtsy, and more fireplace remains would be strewn all over. In fact, there was a trail of ash, not to mention dripping water, that had followed the two maids into Phyllida's sitting-room, where they had no doubt been directed by Mr. Dobble.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?